Hello, and welcome back to Of the People. I am Robert Chernin with my lovely co-host,
Ericka Redic.
Yes, you are. Ericka, culture war.
Yeah.
You know how we're talking about people fighting back?
Uh-huh.
I was so, I don't think excited was the word, but I was so happy to see. So there was this couple in Massachusetts, a devoutly Catholic couple who went to adopt a child.
Oh, yeah.
And they were denied because, we talked about it, remember?
Yep. And I heard about this on the news. Yep.
And they're suing the state.
I love it.
The department, absolutely. So what the state says, and let me pull this up. So their names are Michael and Catherine Burke. So Michael and Catherine Burke, we hope you succeed, and we hope that the state not only has to give you a foster child, but has to pay you a lot of money in the process, because only when you hurt their wallets do they really care about Jack, right?
Yep.
So basically, in the lawsuit, they said, we believe that children should not undergo procedures that attempt to change their God-given sex, and they uphold Catholic beliefs about marriage and sexuality. And because of that, because they would not, quote unquote, they were denied over concerns they would not be, quote, affirming to a child who identified as LGBTQ. So this is a theory, right? It wasn't like they had a child and the child identified. It was, you won't even say, into that question. So in theory, since you do not espouse the right religion and Catholicism is evil, we're going to deny your application.
Yeah. I mean, that is the inevitable outcome of saying that, of adding all these woke questions, like, because now when you go to adopt somebody, it's like, oh, well, how will you be affirming and what will you do and whatever. And so automatically, if you are a Christian or a Judeo-Christian Muslim, denied. If you overcook chicken, you go to jail. You have religious beliefs, you go to jail. I mean, that's where we're at now. So religious discrimination was inevitable once these questions started being added to any questionnaire or consideration.
So, but is it me, or don't you see a connection between sort of this intolerance? Because that's what it is, right? If you don't believe my way, I mean, in the old, right? The old, it used to be, if you don't believe my way, you're damned and you're going to hell.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, you're not damned and going to hell, but you're either going to be denied services, or we're going to turn off your electricity, because you can't eat meat, right?
Yeah.
But do you see a direct link to this whole mask mandate that was and is now about to be again?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is a religious garb. It is the equivalent of wearing a yarmulke or anything else. It is your evidence, your outward display of being a part of this religious entity. It is absolutely what it is. And you know it when you walk around places like Burlington, Vermont, and you see people by themselves outside with a mask on a church street.
Wait, you want to know my favorite?
Tell me.
My favorite was, I was driving on an interstate in the summer recently, right? And I passed a guy. I'm a fast driver. I'm sorry. I'm from Jersey. I have a lead foot. I pass a guy in a convertible by himself with the top down, wearing a mask.
What? Why?
God is my witness.
Oh,
it was on Interstate 91, just south of Brattleboro, Vermont. So you're still in the Vermonster stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
The guy is driving. He must have been doing 70 miles an hour, 65 miles an hour. He had a little Mazda Miata.
Okay.
Right? Red. And he's driving with the top down, wearing a mask by himself in the car.
I think that's
Hi, I'm Robert Chernin.
Really,
and I'm Ericka Redic. And we are Of the People. You can find us on Rumble. You can find me on Twitter.
Well, you're going to have a tan forehead, and then the rest of your face is
at Ericka Redic.
Not tan. That will also be evidence that you'll be entertained. Cult, I think.
Well, it is interesting when you see people now walking around with a mask.
She's never wrong.
When they don't have to. I mean, look, if you have a medical
Just
condition
ask my husband.
and you're concerned about it, I understand the mask thing. I still have friends. I don't. I still have friends who, actually, I do have friends. I'm changing sentences.
The one friend, two friends.
Maybe two, only about two. But I still have friends who, when they travel on an airplane, wear a mask. I do not wear a mask. I do take other precautions. I don't wear a mask, obviously. So I get it in certain instances, right? But when you see someone walking in the sidewalk and the whole intolerance, and let's not forget, at the height of mask mania, right? It's a good word, don't you think?
Yeah.
Mask mania?
Yeah.
At the height of mask mania, there were people that were yelling at you and screaming at you, and I mean, it was just, and you were ostracized or you were canceled or you didn't wear a mask, so you can't go to this place. Please leave our restaurant because you're not wearing a mask.
Yeah. Religious zealots, absolute religious zealots. These are, it's the pendulum swing. I think that's inevitable, right? So back in the day, if you were a religious person, you were screaming and cussing everybody out about how they were going to hell and how they were terrible. And then that creates the flower power movement of the 60s and 70s, where we're just going to go have sex and we're going to completely just go against all of those religious beliefs and all of those religious foundations. And now it's like another pendulum swing, right? It's just...
I hope so. I hope so.
I think we're going like
Look,
this.
Rich man north of Richmond, right? Try that in a small town. The songs are starting to move. The couples are fighting back. I'll tell you something else. Under religious warfare, do you see the bill that Washington State signed?
Which one?
So it's well, good point. There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
So it was the Senate Bill 5599. I'm sorry, not that anyone needs numbers. Basically what the bill said, signed by Governor Inslee in Washington State, the bill basically said that if a child wants to get a gender affirming care and transition to whatever, they do not have to notify the parents, and they will do it without the parents' knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I'm speechless. Well, I'm not really, but I mean, it's amazing to me. I mean, as a parent, you're not allowed, let me see if I got this right. So as a parent, you're not allowed to know what they're being taught in school. You're not allowed to know what bathrooms they use or who else is using the bathroom. You're not allowed to know if they're going for an abortion. You're not allowed to know if they're transgendering, because children, of course, are mature enough to make up their mind, but children are not mature enough to pay back their student loans. They're not mature enough to drive. They're not mature enough to serve in the military.
Right.
They're not mature enough to make life or death decisions, but they're mature enough to be able to make a gender affirming decision because they're being proselytized by the culture and the education, and parents aren't supposed to know about it.
Well,
Am I missing
remember,
something?
they're not your children, right? They don't belong to you. According to this woke religion, right?
I did not.
They don't belong to you. They are autonomous human beings who can make their own decisions, and you don't have any rights as a parent to say yay or nay. You have to just go along with whatever they say or do, and the school's in charge. And the institutions
so is that what this
are
is?
in charge.
This is so this is another version of It Takes a Village.
Yeah, the village is responsible, even though they're not going to pay the consequences. They're not going to be around when that person is dealing with their suicidal ideology. They're not going to be there for taking care of them with the inevitable medical problems that are going to come from any of this. But
okay.
What else?
Okay. So, to me, it is, I mean, again, as much as I tell you logic and facts don't apply with the left, you and I unfortunately fall back into that category that we're logical. At least I am most of the time.
Cut it out.
Not so much all the time, but it depends.
I mean,
Depends
I
when
am
you get
a
on
woman.
rant.
It is that extra X chromosome. Let's be real.
Is that what that is?
It is.
Are we going to do a science and biology? Is there a science and biology quiz later?
It's not my fault. I take no responsibility.
By the way, under the heading of not my fault, I want to give you one more thing on this whole religious war. I mean, you want to go from the absurd to the ridiculous.
Yes.
So let me see if I got this name right. I don't want to screw it up. Diane Ehrensaft. She is the chief of psychology and mental health director at the University of California, San Francisco Hospital.
Oh, God.
She basically has come out and said, she said that trans kids are now identifying as Minotaurs as part of the gender revolution, and that's okay.
Wait, what? Wait, what?
First, wait, do you know what a Minotaur is?
The,
Come on.
like,
where's your
bull,
Greek mythology?
The bull, right? And human?
No. The Minotaur is a horse on the bottom and a
right,
human
right.
right. Greek mythology.
Yes.
Okay. So now this is you can't make this up. Here's what she said. Come on.
Wait,
I love.
Okay.
She said, I totally agree. We are in the midst of a gender revolution and the children are leading it. And it's a wonderful thing. And it's also humbling to know that children know. And children know more than we do about this topic of being gender expansive. Right? She goes on to say that that kids can identify as gender hybrids, which include a mythology-inspired creature called a gender minotaur, and that kids can change their genders by season and can have different identities depending on their location.
All the more reason. Oh my God. Oh my God. All the more reason why we shouldn't be chemically castrating them or cutting off body parts. What in the... oh my God. I almost swore. My brain hurts. Make it stop.
Wait. Oh, come on. She goes on to say, this is, look, if this wasn't so messed up, I would drop, a different word here, but they'd bleep me out. But if this wasn't so messed up, it would almost be funny, right? But it's really not. So she goes on to say, I started meeting a whole bunch of other gender hybrids. And so we have gender Prius, which I assume is a car. Just kidding. We have gender Minotaur, she said, and most of the kids who are gender Minotaurs love mermaids. So make sure you have a lot of mermaid books. If you really think about it, it works.
So now we're going to cut off their legs and give them...
I don't know. I can't
scales. I'm sorry, Benjamin. I'm sorry. You're going to have to bleep that out. What in the actual... What?
Yeah.
So what are we gonna synthesize? Are we gonna weld a person onto a freaking horse now? What does that even mean?
Hey, so you know the secret of the show? The secret of the show is a lot of times I just bring stuff up so you can help me interpret it, because I am like Cercopithecoidea. I'm Cro-Magnon man. I'm like this caveman kind of guy. And when I read crap like this, I go, and you know the thing that stands out in all of this? Don't forget, this is the director. She is, what's the title? Hang on a second. Where am I?
Was the director of psychology?
She's the chief of psychology and the mental health director at the University of California, San Francisco Hospital.
Oh my gosh.
This is the director.
This is why everyone is so sick and struggling and still suicidal. When the people in charge of psychology, the people who are in charge of mental health, who are supposed to be helping you, with figuring out what you believe and helping you be stable and happy and whatever, they're psychos. Oh my God. And then we wonder why everyone is a psycho.
Right. So those of you who are watching, this is what I have to say. I just I can't, you sit there and
we're just throwing our papers. You can't even handle it.
Well, it just, first of all, one of the best pieces of advice that I got is you should never take advice from someone who's more messed up than you are. Right. And you personify that. So this woman is the director of psychology and heads up the department at the hospital. And this is, by the way, maybe that's why everyone's leaving San Francisco. They're making room for the Minotaurs.
Oh my God. Well,
Minotaurs of the world unite.
Everyone that I know that has studied psychology in college and gone on to be a mental health professional, every single one of them has some story about how they were traumatized as a young person, and that's why they went into psychology. I guarantee,
Ericka?
Ask anybody you know who's a psychologist, therapist, whatever.
Ericka.
Yeah.
Ericka.
Robert.
I defy you
Robert.
to name one person who, if they look back on their childhood, didn't have a traumatic experience on some level or another. I'm not equating all of this. You know, there are children that are sexually abused by their parents or punishment. So I'm not trying to equate everything, but everyone has trauma in their life as a child and growing up. That's part of the rite of passage. And again, you know, look, you know me, I am intolerant of you know, child abuse, sex abuse. I mean, my solution is basically, you know, if a parent abuses a kid, you should, you know, tie their hands and feet and throw them off a boat, you know, and just let them sink to the bottom of the ocean. So, I mean, I have zero tolerance for that. You know, but name one. Do you know one person that hasn't been traumatized, real or perceived, growing up?
No, everybody has something that they deal with.
Right.
But everyone that I know that goes into psychology often has a stronger relationship to whatever their trauma is than the average person. And
what does that mean? What does that mean? Give me an example.
Like, as an example, we know a person who went into psychology because, you know, his parents were like mean to him or whatever. And there was a lot of fighting in his household. This same person also uses that as an excuse for why he can't get out of bed and like go do work and be a responsible adult. He studied psychology in college. Oh yeah. I mean, that's not everybody, but normally it's the people who go on to study psychology and get a psychology degree and then particularly go on to therapy. They will tell you it is because of whatever trauma they dealt with as a kid.
So I'll tell you something. The thing that concerns me, and I'm sort of segueing into something else, we're getting the high sign, and we can pick this up at the other side of the break. But it used to be when you went through therapy or went to a psychologist or a therapist or a psychiatrist, that you were not that it was supposed to be bias neutral or politically neutral. You were not supposed to know, because if you're really doing your job, politics doesn't come into it. Now people actually, from what I gather, and I have some friends in the industry in various capacities, people actually now pick their therapists based on their political affiliation. Why not? They pick everything else based on their political affiliation, right?
Oh, yeah.
And therefore, are you really getting therapy, or are you just in an echo chamber of someone who's going to tell you what you want to hear, whether it's LGBTQ or whatever? Hold that thought. Lord Benjamin says we got to go to break, and you know we always listen to the Lord Benjamin. Folks, I'm Robert Chernin with my lovely co-host,
Ericka Redic.
We'll be right back on the other side of the break. Stay tuned.